And these sort of images, the final shots of the programme, with the image that was left in the mind of the child for a whole week.
Oh, shut up, you tart!
Where Doctor Who, the final shot of the episode was Doctor Who drowning.
You are physically repulsive, intellectually retarded. You have no taste, a lousy sense of humor, and you smell.
Couldn't have extended their awareness, not only to their cameras and all the rest of it, but to the effect of what they were doing upon the children who were receiving it.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
It's the 13th of May 2017, and you're listening to the Paul Clark Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you are well. What you just heard there at the beginning of this here podcast for today was an extract from Mary Whitehouse, the campaigner Mary Whitehouse, a woman who made it her mission to clean up British television. That was an extract of her commenting on Doctor Who. To be specific, the Doctor episode, The Deadly Assassin, and of course spiced together within that little segment are various clips that just basically poke fun and mock the woman and just show her up to be what she was, which is an absolute loon, a complete lunatic, as one of the clips in there stated. You know, you are just you're a lunatic. You know, she's a mad woman, and she was a mad woman. Unfortunately, that madness, that lunacy, is still very much prevalent in society today. That there are people out there, like me at Whitehouse, who don't like programmes like Doctor Who, you know, don't want programmes like Doctor Who to fundamentally have an existence. And one of these people happens to be within my own home, within my own family. Well, I say family, I mean, look, you know, let's not go nuts here. Family in the sense of I am associated with them via my brother, who I don't actually consider to be a real brother anyway. Now, this podcast might be quite risque, but I'm confident enough that the comments and the things I will say within this here podcast today will have zero repercussions onto me, because my brother and his wife, my sister-in-law, don't listen to this. Why would they listen to this? You know, they don't like me, I don't like them. And that's the thing, of course, to consider with people like Mary Whitehouse, with people like my brother and my sister-in-law, is that there's often always an ulterior motive behind a dislike for, say, something like Doctor Who. In Mary Whitehouse's case, you know, she was a Christian, so automatically be suspicious of her. Be suspicious of anybody who's religious of any kind whatsoever. Anyone that, you know, that thinks there's a magic man in the clouds, and that, you know, going to church every Sunday and getting on your knees and praying to some make-believe deity, if they think that's normal and a great way to spend your Saturday or your Sunday, instead of watching Doctor Who, The Deadly Assassin or something, automatically be suspicious, okay? I would rather watch, you know, The Deadly Assassin on a continuous loop between now and the end of time than go to any churches or any religious ceremonies. So be suspicious of people like Mary Whitehouse, because her Christian views, her Christian values, led her to have a hatred of anything that basically didn't follow the belief system that she did. So it wasn't just Doctor Who she hated. You know, she hated everything. She hated everything. She detested the BBC as an organisation because she felt they weren't a Christian organisation. They weren't doing the kind of programming that they should be. The BBC had turned its back on traditional British Christian values. I knew there was a reason that I liked the BBC. And the reason why the BBC and ITV, to be fair, and all the TV networks in this country don't really have a Christian agenda, any kind of religious agenda, is because we're not a religious country. I mean, I love the United States to death, But one of the failings I would say they have is their religious convictions. I'm an atheist. I'm very proud to be an atheist. I don't believe in Christian values at all. I just believe in the value of being a decent human being. And to me, programs like Doctor Who, made by the BBC, teach more about decency and being humane and a good person than any book on the Bible or the Quran or any made-up fictional deity from the afterlife ever could. Doctor Who to me is far more real than God or Christ or Muhammad or Allah or any of that phony baloney nonsense. So her agenda wasn't just Doctor Who, it was to bring down the BBC, or certainly, if not bring down the BBC, get the BBC to rethink its content, to rethink its output of non-Christian programming. She believed programs like Doctor Who were brainwashing, were corrupting the youth of the day, of the 1960s, 1970s, and even the 1980s. Quite what she'd make of it now, I don't know. But of course there are people that carry on her work to this day. People like my brother and my sister-in-law. But their hatred for Doctor Who isn't spawn out of any religious conviction. It's spawn out of a hatred of me, and me solely. Me and my brother don't get on. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. We have never, ever got on. Oh, we can pretend, we can fake niceties at family events. But I hate him, he hates me, he's a horrible human being, he's a piece of human excrement shit. And anything that I like, he will automatically despise. Now, his son, my nephew, lovely kid, beautiful kid, fantastic kid. I don't know where he gets it from, because it sure as hell isn't his dad. He has started to take an interest in Doctor Who. And I'm, of course, being a Doctor Who fan, more than happy about that. This, by the way, has nothing to do with me, his interest in Doctor Who. It has to do with the fact that he has been associating himself with people at school who are Doctor Who fans. So, naturally, he obviously knows that I'm a Doctor Who fan. So, when they're playing Doctor Who, when they're playing at being Daleks or Cybermen in the school playground, he then comes back and wants to talk to me about Doctor Who, wants to watch the episodes with me, wants to play with the action figures, much to my chagrin, as as he picks up the action figures off my shelf and starts playing around with them, bless him. But hey, if it indoctrinates him into the world of the Time Lord, who am I to complain? But of course, my brother isn't happy about this, and my sister-in-law isn't happy about this. They wouldn't be happy no matter what it would be. I mean, if I had an interest in coat hangers and my nephew decided to take an interest in coat hangers, they wouldn't like that either. But their hatred of Doctor Who has taken on a level of what I would call pure insanity, and one that Mary Whitehouse would be very, very proud of, I think. They've started a Facebook group to basically get Doctor Who taken off the air. They have made contact with the organisation that makes Doctor Who, the BBC, basically complaining about the inappropriate content. Apparently it's inappropriate for children. It is a family show. It goes out on Saturday tea time, pre The Watershed. It's in that nice kind of sort of pre-Watershed, but not too early on in the day to be a kiddie show. So it's in the family slot. It's not early in the morning, so it certainly wouldn't be a kid show, but it's also not late at night where it would be an adult show where you could have gratuitous violence and sex. It's a family show. It's in the middle. I think it's perfectly pitched, Doctor Who, to entertain both people on both levels. But apparently, though, no, it is a show that is that has gratuitous violence in it, according to my sister-in-law and my brother, and must be stopped immediately. And the writers of Doctor Who, and I take this as a massive shot, a massive attack on the head writer, the current head writer, and soon, of course, departing head writer of Doctor Who, Stephen Moffat. I take this as a massive shot against him. The fact that my brother and my sister-in-law, who are as thick as pig shit, and couldn't even decipher an anagram, much less understand a Stephen Moffat Doctor Who script, think that the content that Moffat is churning out is corrupting young, impressionable minds, just like our friend Mary Whitehouse there. It's insane. And it's led me to great frustration, particularly today, as this continues. This has been going on now for at least 3 or 4 days, and it shows no signs of reaching a conclusion. But every day, particularly as it's the summer holidays right now, and my nephew is coming down here throughout the day, because obviously my brother and sister-in-law are at work, so my mum and dad and me, we look after him during the daytime when he's off school. And all he wants to do is watch Doctor Who. All he wants to do is play Doctor Who with me. All he wants to do is talk about Doctor Who. That is a problem, apparently, for my brother and my sister-in-law. They want him to have zero association with this programme. They have gone to great extents, as I said, on social media to petition against this programme and get the programme taken off the air. And I'm here to say now, just for my own sanity, I guess, really, to get this off my chest, is you will fail. You will fail. You, my brother, and you, my sister-in-law, will fail. Doctor Who is invincible. Doctor Who is immortal. And you may be able to stop him watching it when he comes here. But what about his friends at school? Because he's going to have a social life, isn't he? And what happens when he has a sleepover at his friend's house? And maybe he's got some Doctor Who DVDs, and they watch Doctor Who on a sleepover night. Or what about when you're not around to look over his shoulder, and Doctor Who pops on the television on a repeat, or on iPlayer, or he decides to YouTube it? And what are you going to do when he gets older? And if this interest in Doctor Who continues into adulthood, and he wants to attend conventions, and he wants to cosplay, and he wants to go to Comic-Con, and maybe he wants to become an actor or a writer because of Doctor Who. That's how Stephen Moffat did it. You know, Stephen Moffat was inspired, much like Mark Gatiss, much like Russell T Davies, much like all the people that work on the modern 21st century series of Doctor Who were fans growing up loving the classic series. And that's going to happen again, because as this series continues, and we're on series 10 now, soon to be series 11 of the 21st century incarnation of Doctor Who, that's an unprecedented amount of episodes. And even if it ended tomorrow, the last 10, 11 years will have inspired someone. And in the future, they will be writing Doctor Who. They will be like David Tennant, like Peter Capaldi. They will be inspired to become an actor because of Doctor Who. And who knows, they may just become the next Doctor Who. You will not stop this programme. You, my brother, my sister-in-law, Mary Whitehouse, you can't stop Doctor Who. For your kicking and screaming, you will never, ever stifle the Time Lord. And censorship, I mean, unfortunately, I'm nearing the end of this podcast now, but I could go on for a whole 2-hour, 3-hour rant about censorship and how it has tried to block entertainment in this country and in America. You know, TV shows like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the censorship that program was under when it came to this country, the fact that it had to be changed here in the UK and across Europe from being Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and heavily censored down because of the likes of Mary Whitehouse, and what they have done to terrestrial radio, the fact that on radio in this country you can't say anything, you can't have an opinion on anything without being censored. Doesn't that just show the insanity of these people, of people like Mary Whitehouse, of people like my brother and his sister-in-law. Censorship is not good. Censorship is bad. It stifles creativity. But you will never, ever stifle Doctor Who. Comment below. Let me know what you think. You've been listening to the Paul Clark Podcast.